70 or 80% of the problems that are being addressed to doctors, they are of the nature which could be treated remotely. To be and my activity has been in very interesting times for the country, which has had quite a legacy and quite a past, being part of Soviet Union, which used to be quite closed economy. I still remember these times, and all of a sudden our small country regained freedom, and there was a lot of entrepreneurial initiative past that. Like, people felt that they're empowered. Things were moving ahead quite quickly, and of course, with every kind of opening economy, the structural changes start to happen. First in segments which are maybe less innovative. We started building out our economy, but very soon, because you had to build things from scratch, we saw tech-based companies appear and innovative solutions being instituted. Our government played quite a role in promoting e-governance solutions. And certainly it's quite an interesting to be an entrepreneur in this dynamic environment. Indeed, I've been in a startup business for, I would say, almost 15 years. I've always been part of innovative tech companies. My first successful startup was in telecom space, in telecom backhaul space. Then it was acquired. Part of my career was passed in a big international high-tech semiconductor company for 2.5 years. And then I returned to the roots. I established another startup company which was focused more on, let's say, social entrepreneurship. We were building solutions for elderly segment to tackle social isolation. And during these times, we noticed that, with the segment we were working, the health-related topics were coming into play quite quickly. And I think that spurred also the idea of the founders to look more deeply into healthcare space and try to bring our skills, experience, let's say, the tech side of it into digital healthcare space. And that was basically how Minudoc was born. We can call it a pivot. We started from one area of activity and then finally ended up in healthcare space. So we are big believers that the big disruptions are ahead of us. And like with any type of business, the timing needs to be right. And I'm more and more convinced that these are the times where digital healthcare will finally take off big time.
And it's good that you brought up good timing, because with everything going on in the world and with many people shifting to remote work, your company finds itself in quite a favorable position. Maybe you could talk about that, and you could talk about your platform as well.
The COVID-19 crisis, it basically impacted a lot of businesses like us. But all in all, I do believe that in essence, healthcare is currently getting into the, let's say, the phase where very important decisions have to be made. The population is growing older. More and more people are suffering from chronic conditions. This is putting a very heavy burden on public healthcare systems, and more money needs to be invested into that. So it means that there have to be different ways of treatment for lighter ailments. And lighter ailments take up quite a significant time of healthcare, a healthcare system, and that could be used much more efficiently. And digital technology, it's not a panacea. It's not like now we are able to solve, things in much higher quality. I think we remain quality-wise where we are in physical space, but we can do that much more efficiently. For instance, the more digital data we have about the patient, and the more we can prepare this visit without necessarily directing a patient directly to the doctor, but doing the preparation on the background so that the doctor is having the major role of making the final decision, the better. I mean, we are saving here a lot of time of the doctors who need to deal with more and more complex problems, and the more information we can cater to the doctor, the better outcome it is. At 70 or 80% of the problems that are being addressed to doctors, they are of the nature which could be treated remotely, and they are of the nature where a lot of prep work could be done before it gets to the doctor's attention. And sometimes even our solutions can direct people to self-care mode so that they don't even need to see a doctor. Of course, the crisis now has brought it into the picture much more starkly. I mean, all of a sudden, the doctors across the world couldn't practice their things in a normal way. I mean, they had to do that remotely. They discovered that it is possible. It is possible. Although, if that happens spontaneously, things are unprepared. And a lot of these consultations were happening over the phone. So doctors didn't have much of background information. The objective decision-making was hindered, and it all was kind of new thing.
All right.
But if we factor that in, and if we factor and build solutions which already do these things, like gather information, cater that to the doctor, empower doctor in decision making, then of course these solutions could be really disrupting the way how things are done. Only in Estonia we saw hundreds of doctors approaching us and willing to use our platform for their own practices. And of course, and there is also behavioral change on the consumer side, which is really important. I mean, we still see a lot of people having doubts about being able to be cured remotely by a doctor. There is a vested understanding that I need to see a doctor physically, because how could you diagnose remotely? And it's still prevailing thread of thought that I have to see a doctor, so doctor sees me and he or she could give me more precise diagnosis. But in fact, it's arguable. It's arguable if you need that. And I think a lot of people discovered, because the digital channels were more or less few of the solutions you can actually turn to the doctor with lighter ailments, then they could see that these things actually work. And once you see how convenient it is, how accessible this is, the quality of experience is great, and you can even give a rating to this session you had, a feedback to the doctor, right? There was at least this little change in behavior and discovery for many people that this is how healthcare will be in 3, 4, 5 years, maybe 7 years. I don't know. Things in healthcare take time. Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have had a very large interest actually towards providing the similar type of services in different regions. We have had partners from Europe, like, there are some countries, Finland, Poland, where we are making now quite a deep due diligence and are willing to do the first kind of strides to enter these markets. But there are also some more exotic places like Brazil and Tanzania.
Fantastic.
That actually partners have approached us from there, and certainly we are considering. We are a fairly small company, and we are still a startup company, so we need to be really focused in what we do. And when we start expanding now into new geographies, we have to do a lot of homework, because in healthcare, each market is different. It has its nuances. It may be related to legislation. It may be related to how reimbursement models work. Is it prevailed by public healthcare system or private healthcare system? Would public healthcare system reimburse the visits? Or should you go more like corporate sector side, which we do in Estonia? Its prevailing customer base are corporates for us, so corporate and their employees. An opportunity internationally for corporate segment. We believe that more and more employers will be using digital services like Minudoc to empower their employees within access with the access to healthcare. And our main motto and objective here has been that we need to strive for quality, affordability, and in terms of affordability, it has to be disruptive. We are looking at like 10x cost reduction related, or if you compare to the traditional healthcare system. So the digital services have to be as much more efficient, like 10 times more efficient cost-wise.
The experience of corporations in using the platform to benefit their employees?
The experience has been certainly great. It's a little bit like discovery for corporates as well, that you could expand your kind of motivational schemes with services like healthcare, because in many European countries, actually, healthcare is a public good, if you like, right? The companies maybe are not so pressed to turn to private insurance, health insurance, and offer that to their employees. So it has been a discovery for them as well that, the main resource in company are employees. It's not anything new. And if you cater better welfare to employees and provide timely healthcare services, obviously it could be returned in direct way and also in indirect way. For instance, there are separate solutions or products on Minudoc platform which are pertaining mental health. So we have carved out a service which is focused on providing behavioral health services to corporate clientele. And we have seen the demand going through the roof during the crisis times. I mean, the companies are very hungry to use those services with their employees. And obviously, this is the whole new situation, both for management as well as their employees, where many employees were staying at home. They had quite a different environment. They were pressed in terms of productivity to deliver more for actually less. And it has had some, repercussions in terms of how people feel themselves in the companies. So it was positive certainly for companies, because in these difficult times it was a good safety harbor or safety net for their employees to turn to and have an open and very discreet discussions with the experts, the domain experts, and get some help from there.
Estonia being such fertile ground for entrepreneurship and also for these kinds of innovation.
There's always some background to this, right? It's not like it has cropped up one day and all of a sudden we are very entrepreneurial. I think it's the mix between past circumstances and a little bit like present ones. If I refer to past, is that certainly to be innovative, you need to have probably a mix of both technical capabilities, but also this entrepreneurial drive. I think the technical capabilities are coming from our legacy and maybe heritage of school system. I mean, Estonia is still ranking very high on PISA tests. In Europe, Estonia has been number 1 or 2 in PISA tests in Europe, at least. So it kind of testifies that there's already quite a strong educational system that feeds into the future employees of Estonian workforce. That is good. So I think this is one element that helps us to build great products and companies. The second one is entrepreneurial, which is a little bit kind of bigger challenge, because 20 years back we didn't have much of success stories because of our past, right? Most of the people, entrepreneurs, were self-made. And I think our biggest success story was the creation of Skype, which was eventually, sold in the beginning of 2000s. But it really gave a lot of belief into young people that you can create something great. You can create unicorn type of companies here. And today, Estonia, I think, is one of the leading countries, by having the greatest number of unicorns per capita.
Per capita, yes, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yes, and again, this is like a circle, right? You see like success stories. There are more people either spinning out of these companies and having believed that I can also create something like that. We have people coming to Estonia, like talent coming in from other countries, seeing that great things happen here. We have almost the entire society is e-based. You can do everything, online. I don't personally remember when I had to sign a paper last time. Probably for the last 10 years, I haven't done so.
That's amazing.
Maybe only some foreign contracts that you still to sign, physically. We do that all digitally. It's a little bit like environmental stuff. It's where we are from the past, and I think success stories which give you a great belief that these things could be done even from here, like not Silicon Valley, but Estonia, a cold country, right? Nordic country, struggling, and we are not yet a welfare society, so people have a lot of drive. So I think all in combination have resulted in us being able to provide the world with some very, very interesting products and technologies and innovation.
Minudoc is in a very favorable position right now, accelerated by the COVID crisis. Looking ahead, how would you see the company over the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years? Or what changes do you think need to be made strategically for it to grow further?
I think we want to really disrupt the way how ambulatory care is delivered today. And we see world moving to that as well. So our ambition, as I already mentioned, is to offer 10x more affordable services with around the clock availability and accessibility, while based on true patient data and sophisticated decision support tools for doctors. So I think the last piece is really crucial, because let's say nowadays probably any startup could build a video-based solution, right? A video conversational tool. But it doesn't make your product great. What makes it great is, the user experience, the way how you collect the data, how you analyze the data, and how you bring that data to a doctor or to a patient for a final decision. And I think this is where we need to concentrate and work. So quite recently, we added an AI-based symptom checker to our solution.
Fantastic.
So actually our customers can go through that first and get initial feedback from our AI solution, advise you whether you should be talking to a doctor. And if you need to talk to the doctor, then that interview is being catered to the doctor, so the doctor could make a better decision. But yeah, this AI-based tool is the first step in empowering our customers and doctors with a very structured way of collecting the data. And there are a lot of other ideas we have, so that this would be kind of getting better. And certainly, you know, in 3 to 5 years, I think there is a unique window of opportunity for any telehealth company today, because one thing that world has learned in this crisis is that the remote healthcare systems have to be developed.
Yes,
and you
definitely.
know, that priority may go away in certain time if the world is not disrupted again, or you know, there might be first or second comers in different geographies who will dominate the market. And in healthcare, obviously, it is very, very difficult to substitute an incumbent providers, because you know, there's an element of getting accustomed to a certain system by the doctors. They will prefer it, and it will be difficult to convince them to move to any other platform. So I think it's a unique opportunity for expansion, and within 3 to 5 years, I think we have to be in numerous places out there. There are actually certainly positives to take away from here. One thing is from our perspective, it's the behavioral change. Behavioral change is something which is very, very difficult to attain in normal circumstances. So it means that you know, people are used to do things in one manner, and they continue doing that. And all of a sudden, you have the situation which is eye-opening. Like people are forced to try out new things, and they actually, you know, during doing this, they discover that, hey, I mean, this is convenient, this is affordable, and you know, why didn't I do that before? And that really helps to spur innovation. This is like a second wave of innovation that comes out of that. If all of a sudden you see this behavioral change in areas which are not very prone or known for that, then you will see a change happening there. I think it's very interesting to observe now, you know, what has been this positive impact to the society and the world in general, when we had actually, you know, much less kind of active carbon footprint out there. Like there was, you know, such a big number of air travels not being done, which were substituted by, you know, this quite friendly remote video conferences. Like, you know, there was much less general pollution ongoing. So I think it's very important for us to observe how these 2 months have impacted the surrounding environment, and can we learn something from that? Can the humankind change its habits of consumption and substitute it with more sustainable things?
Absolutely.
You know, should do here is remember these times. I mean, my concern is that people have short memory, and in 6 months down the road, everybody has forgotten about this. And we haven't taken away any lessons learned. So that's probably the biggest mistake we could make. And it's up to everyone here. I mean, decision makers, managers in the company, people around us, you know, we should keep in mind that these things may happen, and then we should ask ourselves what should we be doing different, and what could we be doing different. So I think that's one thing that I would like to, you know, leave on the table. And if we think about that, I'm quite sure that whenever there is a next crisis like that, we are much better prepared to cope with that and we will see much less of harm in these things.